gives you how much money is required for SMEs to complete their trades. So the gap is almost $2 trillion. And if this much money is made available, that much more trade can happen. Now, what we are trying to achieve here is, let's say you are a SME trader in Brazil and you have a genuine shipment, but you don't have a bank to finance your project. So what do? You can prove that you have a genuine trade by putting your document on an MLETR solution. Now, anybody can validate these documents are genuine. So they can verify your document and you can transfer the title on the MLTR compliant solution. Now, if I'm a liquidity provider, I can have a look at that and provide you liquidity because that's a genuine trade. So this is the gap which we are trying to fulfill. So now again, this is not something which we can do it ourselves. We need to bring the industry together. We need to bring all the players together. So we need liquidity provider. Of course, we have been approached by many liquidity providers, those who want to expand into trade finance. We will also do our road shows and reach out to all the countries' SMEs and tell them that, look, now with this new solution, there is an opportunity for them to reach out and get the required funding for their trades. So that's something which we are very passionate about. And I think over a period of time, this gap will go down.
This is from Mr. Man. Please follow Mr. Man. He's the guy referred to as Spider-Man. He always wears the mask, but the point is, it doesn't matter if he wears a mask or not, right? The point is, he's a great content creator / researcher, right? He always studies and researches, DLT, blockchain, all that stuff. So he says, we don't have much time to get it right. The paraphrase from Greta Thunberg. Oh boy. I'm sorry if you guys are a Greta Thunberg fan. Anyway, from Finastra's perspective, we need to get trade finance digitalized, right? This is good stuff. And the reason why we want to talk about this is because, come on, guys, think about what's happening in, I think, XDC, some of the other ones tied into the ecosystem, XSwap, GBEX, one that we recently covered, plugin, right? PLI, but not just XDC. I'm not going to be naive to the fact that it could be VET, could really be doing some things. Morpheus network, anything tied into supply chain, I think is really going to stand out. Let's go ahead and play this because, like you said, the Finastra perspective, we need to get trade finance, just that, digital. Please smash that like.
That's really, really interesting. Ian, I wanted to sort of back this over to you because I know that Finastra, on the one side, you're doing a lot of digital, a lot of your fintech, but you've also got this sort of collaborative ESG program. You've really got the sort of the focus on sustainability of late. How do these two sides marry together, and what kind of response are you getting from the ecosystem?
So I think, the guys in the panel have called out a number of really interesting things. There's the question about the focus that's come on ESG, and I would say E&S, because G's been a focus since I think about 2008, since the financial crash, around about board visibility, the governance of companies, and all of that, and it really has taken the focus. And really, in the last couple of years, the E&S has come to the fore, along with the sustainability part around about that. But to Marissa's point, we don't really have that much time to get it right. We don't have very much time to paraphrase Greta to blah, blah, blah. We need to get on and actually deliver that. So I think from Finastra's perspective, we've always pushed, or Simon and the company push open by default. So for us, it's looking to bring together the required parties, the required data. I mean, digitalization spans trade end to end. It's not just ESG. It's everything we want to do in regards to trying to take away. I thought our title was interesting when I saw the word paper, and I'm just saying, no, paper, no, it has to be digitalized. It has to be open. It has to be, we need to get away from little data islands. And we talked about this before in other webinars around about how do we bring it together. So we're seeing lots of interest in regards to how do we make data accessible, and particularly in the ESG part, it's, to Alexander's point, what's your trusted source? If you go and you've got different scales and to use the the example he had, one day you're good and the next day you're found out to have, indentured labor. It's like, how can you trust? And a lot of what we do now is, what is the element of trust that we have in the systems, and can I trust what's in front of me? So it's an interesting time, but I think also where Michael called out consumers, I think what we see now is the sort of tripartite of consumers, investors, and regulators. I think that's where you start to see, we will see much more movement around about how we do that.
This is another really good one. I reviewed it earlier. So again, like we're talking about, Electronics Trade Documents Act, right? Going into effect. So it states from Mr. Man, Electronic Trade Documents Act comes into power September 20th. After this act, we need to see the Carriage of Goods by Sea Act, which is called COGSA, amended to reflect the digital update. All right. Finally, now we're starting to get into some of that nitty gritty about the Electronics Trade Documents Act. Now, what about this whole thing with XDC? Well, let it speak for itself. Let's go ahead and play this. It's a minute and a half. Do you still hold XDC? Do you not hold XDC? Do you feel as though you're running out of time for your entry point into XDC? Not financial advice, but if it was me, I feel like I was running out of time. Why would I want to pay maybe not necessarily double, but maybe like 1.5 times more, right? After retracement and so on. I'm just throwing that out there, right? We talk about the accumulation phase. All right, let's go ahead and play this. Smash that like if you haven't done so already, and thanks for being here. Here we go.
Like all of us actually on this call, on this forum, it's pillar 1 and pillar 2. I think we've got to focus on enabling the market, create the environment in which the systems and the technologies and the industries can grow. And so, yes, I think we have the tool. I think that's really important. One of the most exciting initiatives, I think, right now anywhere in the trade environment is the Digital Standards Initiative in Singapore, because if that is successful, when it's successful, I should say, because it's a huge job, it will start connecting up the digital platforms. It will start connecting up the government to business systems by simply fast tracking the standards that are already in the market so they become universal global standards, and then creating standardized systems where there aren't any in existence. And I go back to what I said at the beginning. If we imagine our consumer world, if you remember the world of Betamax and VHS videos, or Apple and Microsoft kind of systems, when none of them talk to each other, it was horrendous, but it actually got solved pretty quickly in the grand scheme of things. And all we're talking about here is doing the same in the trade environment. So we know it's possible. We just got to keep focused on it, support it, and not try and pick off more than we can chew at any one time. So, I think it's really important we get some quick wins going on.
All right. Obviously, there's a lot more to the interview, but you got the quick gist of that, which is cool. All right. So let's see here. Let's go further down. I mean, I even saw some people were like, this is a nothing burger. What was it? This one guy says, this is nothing but nothing burger. Mr. Man says, you're looking too small. Increase your vision and watch the picture come together. I agree. And this other guy says, I'll likely be dead before it amounts to anything. Here's to hoping. I mean, again, like, this is a good example of somebody just didn't do the proper research. So let's share this. This is something that he posted in Cyprus. Give him a follow while you guys follow him. He says, XCC network representative explaining how ETH will dwindle away over time to be replaced with third-generation tech. We've been saying this for the longest time. I mean, if you think about BTC, Ethereum especially, right? I mean, especially Ethereum. Yeah, they have more smart contracts. They're the largest smart contract ecosystem in all of crypto. So what, right? So what? There's so many devs realizing that there's better things to get involved with. Stellar, for instance, with Sorbonne. We got a report about that, by the way, on the Stellar segment. But especially XDC. And like he says, XRP, XLM, HBAR, all third generation. Right. So let's play this. It's only 1 minute and 4 seconds. Pretty good find from Cyprus to Manicore. Spanish.like. Here we go.
Here. There we go. see here that the distinction between the growth rate and what Ethereum is doing, that gap is being filled in by third generation projects. And so that's part of, again, the data that suggests first has come in, second has come in, and now third generation is really starting to take hold. Another way to look at that same third generation increase is if you look at a distributed finance, DeFi, and you look at the total amount of value locked in, and you look at the percentage of that total value locked in by chain, you see that over 90% of the value used to be Ethereum, and now it's dropped considerably to, say, less than 50% or thereabouts. And that trend will continue.
Yes, third generation. You know, something to be said about, especially not just XDC, guys jumping ship from, you know, Ethereum, and they're like, Stellar, for instance, XDC, all these other ones. Why is that? A lot less expensive, a lot more faster, right? It's the new upgraded technologies. So such, you know, why wouldn't they do that, right? You know where I'm going. All right, obviously we have some more for you. So again, the video that was just shared, this guy named Devin says, isn't XRP first generation? This is good stuff. And of course, Cypress responds with, let me get out of that screen, sorry. XRP is often considered a third generation blockchain or digital ledger technology by some experts and enthusiasts. True. A lot of people, of course, like this guy Devin, saying, well, isn't XRP first generation? Because you always see it labeled as a first generation with some of the other ones and so on. But, you know, it's moving bank money and so on. So that's a legitimate statement. Cypress says, however, the categorization of blockchain generations is not always straightforward, and different sources may have slightly different definitions. In general, the concept of blockchain generations is used to describe the evolution of blockchain tech. First generation blockchains, for example, these are exemplified by Bitcoin, which introduced the concept of decentralized digital currency. First generation blockchains are primarily focused on cryptocurrency and limited scripting capabilities. Yes, very true. Second gen blockchains, Ethereum is often seen as the key representative of second generation blockchains. These blockchains introduce smart contract functionality. Again, like what we were talking about earlier. You know, let's face it, ETH is still, you know, the biggest, right? You got, you know, hate to reference this guy, but he said it a long time ago. I'm not gonna say his name anymore, but he was saying that, you know, is Ethereum, like, should we look at Ethereum like it's McDonald's, right? They're everywhere, but is that the best hamburger to get? No, not really. There's other ones, right? Enabling developers to create decentralized applications, dApps, on top of blockchain. Ethereum expanded the use, of blockchain beyond just crypto. Very true. Third generation blockchains, right? Let's get into the good stuff. Aim to address some of the limitations and scalability issues of earlier generations. They often emphasize speed, scalability, and interoperability. Ripple's XRP, along with projects like Cardano, which, let's face it, is ISO 222 compliant or on the cusp of being it. I don't know. We saw that interview from Charles Hoskins, and I can't keep up with if it is or isn't, but it always gets mentioned. And then also EOS and others are often considered part of this generation. XRP in particular is known for its focus on fast and low, obviously cross-border payments. No kidding.